Hello, everyone. I am Tubby Squirrel, and this. All right. Tangent aside, let's jump in. I am I'm a just over 1,600 hour killer main. Play killer about 85% of the time, survivor about 15% of the time, and I have no particular main. I just play most of the roster. Because I feel like it's important to give metadata about the different viewpoints so that you can compare and contrast different viewpoints from different people in the community with varying levels of experience. All right, so the twins. Major updates for the twins, the Blight, Haddonfield, and these 3 perks. So change reduced the time it takes to switch back to Charlotte to 1.5 seconds, where it was 3. Fantastic change. It is one of the most boring things in the world to knock someone down with Victor, wait for the hit animation to be over, and then wait even longer before you're allowed to switch back to Charlotte. Reduces the time it takes to unbind Victor to 3/4 of a second, where it was 1. That is not a very big change, but you unbind Victor a lot of times per match, and this should help overall just make it feel smoother. Like, may not be that great of a buff per se, but it'll feel nicer to play. Anything you can do to reduce the amount of time spent waiting with this killer is gonna help people want to play her more. Because one of the biggest, clunkiest things about the killer is that you're spending a lot of time waiting for animations to finish, and waiting for cooldowns to finish. So, another change: reduce the a flat buff. Reduce the time it takes to charge Victor's Pounce by a fraction of a second. But sometimes, a fraction of a second can make or break it in a case. That could be the difference between them dropping a strong pallet or not dropping a strong pallet, or making a window or not making a window. Plus, it puts one of the most used add-ons to make it partially base kit. So maybe we'll see different add-ons played. Added the ability to recall Victor at any point whilst he's unbound. That should have always been a thing, but it's here now. Added the ability to change between Victor and Charlotte near a hooked survivor, with the developer notice here that will still fill the anti-camp mechanic. I hope they will change it so that Victor himself activates the anti-face camp mechanic, because that was an oversight when they first added the anti-face camp mechanic. I don't know that it's ever been fixed. I don't think so. It is something I reported, but I didn't do a proper bug report. I only sent them an @ message on x.com, which you should never do for a bug report. You should always properly fill out a bug report, which I didn't do. Hopefully that gets changed. So 7 add-ons have been updated. We won't know what those are until the PTB. So here's the biggest change to the twins. This will change the way they're played. I wish it would stop doing that. The Victor will no longer latch on to healthy survivors, and when doing so, he can't be kicked in between. Like, he pounces, he injures a healthy survivor, and will not latch onto him, but he can't be kicked during what. So it's not like you can boom injure them and then be kicked instantly. Instead of latching on to a healthy survivor and then it switching you back to Charlotte, they'll now latch on to a survivor that's put into the dying state, And effectively, what this is saying is that Victor will sort of hold them down until Charlotte comes. And in order to pick their friend up, in order to pick your teammate up who has Victor holding them down, you'll have to crush Victor first. And I imagine this means that I wish it wouldn't do that. I imagine this means you won't be able to recover on the ground while Victor's on top of you. And while Victor's holding you down, you get a 10% haste effect as Charlotte, which I imagine has some sort of timer, because it says it can be lost prematurely if you hit a survivor. So you can't just use it as free speed whenever you want and use it to like chase another survivor. You could, but that's a trade-off, because as soon as you hit another survivor, you lose the haste effect. The idea here is that you can get back to the survivor that Victor is holding down more quickly, and then, get into your next chase more quickly. Essentially removing as much of the busy work from twins as possible. Because, like, you down someone as Victor, right? You switch back to Charlotte currently. You are effectively waiting for an animation to finish by lumbering over there as Charlotte, for the hook. And the idea is to reduce the reliance on camping. Then good change here. The visual tear radius will now account for Victor Grunt. And Victor will now glow red when he is vulnerable to being crushed. That's fine. I wish it would be something more diegetic, like maybe he's pants, or maybe he has a different idle animation, or maybe something else, something more diegetic than glowing red, but it's fine. Minor update to the Blight, which will have major implications on how he's played. The overall collision detection is going to make there be much less sliding. And they explained underneath it that they're basically trying to nerf hug tech. Saying that, like, if there's a long wall, and the survivor runs around the long wall, the Blight actually is not intended to be able to hit the wall head on, slide, and then immediately zoop, around. And that's what they're trying to change. Haddonfield says medium update, but really this should say major update. This will be the second major overhaul that Haddonfield has had. If you can believe it, it used to be much worse. Right now, I'd say Haddonfield's about a middle-of-the-road map. It used to be one of the worst maps in the game. Overall, they've changed the map layout to reduce the overall size, which is great. Reduce the length of hedges and fences. That's also great, because on both sides, Killer or Survivor, it can be really annoying to be moving from one side of the map to the other for whatever reason, and then hit this sheer wall that you have to trek around. And in short, they're reducing the strength of the houses and increasing the strength of the edges of the map and the road in between, which is nice, because the map was somehow both killer-sided and survivor-sided, because you had these really strong buildings, but they were separated by an ocean of nothing in between. So, yeah, that's no longer going to be the case. They're increasing the strength of the road in between the houses and reducing the strength of the houses themselves, particularly the really stupid strong windows that exist in some of them. And they're also removing the houses that you can't actually go into, citing that it just added a lot of extra size to the map that wasn't actually playable. Um, so yeah, this big fucking house in the way, and all it does is make everything else further away from each other. So they're getting rid of that. Yeah, and like I said, pallets and lockers along the edge of the map. Updated the street. Basically, houses less strong, the street more strong, get them closer to each other in strength, and make the map more interesting to play on for both sides. Decisive strike, very minor. They're just bumping the stun duration back up to 5 from 3. Before, when the latest time decisive strike was changed is where they added the conspicuous actions where it deactivates after you touch a gen and after the end game. That's still there. And with those changes, the stun didn't need to be down to 3. So it's good that it's back up to 5. I've seen some people say, well, this will only hurt low tier killers and it won't affect Nurse or Blight. Well, it probably won't affect Nurse or Blight, but that's not a good reason to not buff a perk that needs to be buffed. But it won't hurt any killer unless you tunnel for the most part. As long as you don't actively try to tunnel, decisive strike shouldn't be much of a bother to you. Now, I know you can force it, but you undo the time that the perk saves you by forcing it. Essentially, you could be unhooked, yes, and run straight to the killer because you want to hit them with decisive. Okay. But you're just wasting all of the time that you're about to save. So it's you're just wasting 15, 20 odd seconds to then save 15, 20 odd seconds. So it's not it's not exactly against the favor of the killer to do it. Or at least in my experience. I don't know. Maybe we'll see we'll have to see in the PTB what happens. Adrenalin, I don't really agree with this. Adrenalin's being nerfed into the ground. The biggest thing is it no longer why is it right clicking? It no longer activates while you are on the hook. So you won't be able to be hooked. The last 10 pops, you get off the hook and you're healed. And the speed boost is being reduced as well to 3 where it was 5. I think that's a bit overkill. Honestly, I think the only change that Adrenalin needed is that it no longer causes you to wake up against a nightmare, because perks shouldn't counter just one killer. Yeah. Ultimate weapon got a weird side grade. So now instead of screaming, it'll show you the auras. They say this is so that it's less easy to interrupt survivor actions, less easy to combo it with other perks like, say, Dead Man Switch or interrupt, pig boxes, stuff like that. And they've reduced the activation time, but increased its cooldown. They doubled its cooldown, in fact, so that you get the effect less often. This is a weird one because the wombo combo of stealth perks is Discordant, Calm Spirit, and of the two, Discordant, Distortion, Calm Spirit, and of the two, Distortion is clearly the stronger of the two, and Calm Spirit is clearly the weaker of the two, and this change makes Calm Spirit even a little bit weaker, and Distortion even a little bit stronger. Of course, I don't think Distortion's that strong of a perk. It does one thing really well, but it does one thing really well, and that's it. Emblems, small but good change. No more deep hipping. Emblems are only for rewards now, so that makes sense. The store is getting a major overhaul, and we can see some pictures of that down here. Specials tab to, like, highlight what's on sale. Collectibles, just different groupings. You can buy bundles of stuff at a discount, blah blah blah. The two interesting ones are killer Mori animations can now be viewed in the store. Which one, you can see a killer's Mori before you buy them, which will be nice. Definitely nice for new players. Maybe a cool Mori will push it over the edge. And it might be the groundwork. That might be them laying the groundwork for selling Moris. Selling unique Moris. We'll have to wait and see. And a weekly gift that can be claimed for free. That is cool. Some weeks it might just be blood points or iridescent shards. Maybe it'll be a charm some days. Maybe it'll be a t-shirt. We'll have to wait and see what kind of stuff we get. Minor update to the archives. And that they will just start on the same day as the mid-chapter patches. Where before they it was always a day after. I don't know what caused it to be a day after, but now it won't be. It'll all be on the same day. Oh, and they're adding like this pay-to-win boost to the Rift, where you can, when you buy the Rift, you can like buy a thing that starts you at tier 20. Overall, pretty good. I disagree with the Adrenalin nerf. I think Adrenalin is enough of an earned effect that the effect didn't need to be nerfed. But other than that, this all looks great. I'm excited for Twins to be less clunky. Excited for Haddonfield to be a bit more interesting to play on. Decisive Strike change is fine. Ultimate weapon change is a bit weird, but fine. Emblem change, fantastic. Yeah, the only one I disagree with a little bit is Adrenalin. But I digress. If anyone actually ends up watching this, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll have to see what happens, how all of these changes shake out when we actually play the PTB. I'm sure in a few weeks from now. And as all, I've been Tubby Squirrel.